Hey everyone, Internet PCS book reader here. Today I want to talk about Spider-Man life story written by zdarsky and drawn by Bagley. I don't think Spider-Man needed much introduction, but I'll give it anyway. He's the most famous Western superhero, and I think it's safe to assume that more people just know of his name even more than Batman or Superman, even if they don't know his story. But if I'm wrong, just let me know in the comment. Because at least from what I know, he is the most popular. Some people will say that it's because he is the most accessible and relatable. Well, that is not wrong at some point, but it's such a surface level take from it that it feels like an insult to its creator, Stan Lee, and the many good writers that has gotten their hand on the character. In my opinion, Spider-Man, among many of his superhero peers, whether they're from Marvel or DC, had one of the best character development and progress ever. He started from the literal bottom. He was an orphan struggling to fit into school, and when he got hit by the spider that turned him into Spider-Man, it's not like it also magically improved his social skill and maturity. If anything, it made him drunk in power that he becomes more rebellious and caused the death of Uncle Ben. Which by the way never said with great power comes great responsibility in the original. Time of the guy maturing was actually when he started going out with Gwen Stacy. That's why when she died it broke him and turned him into a bitter man who is quick to anger and violence. It was only thanks to the returning Mary Jane and their blossoming relationship that the Peter Parker we all know now started to appear. The guy who visited a kid with cancer despite his busy schedule just to give him a little bit of hope and happiness before his death. A guy who swings by a homeless girl and tries to help her even though there is not much else he can do for her. A guy who is defined not because he had the worst luck that caused him to have many struggles and mistakes, but because despite all of those hardships, he learned and grew from them. It helps that the people he lost usually don't come back permanently. Uncle Ben and Gwen Stacy stayed mostly dead, with the exception of a few jump scares that never last long or the small appearances of alternate universe characters. It's not a perfect storytelling by any means. There are a few story arcs that are straight up trash like everything about Ben Reilly, even to the modern version of him. But despite all of that, Spider-Man grew up and became more mature as the story goes, eventually dating Mary Jane and becoming a teacher, which most fans will agree that is the best Spider-Man has ever been, a guy who have learned how to live a responsible life, teaching kids how to live responsibly. But the Civil War happened, and during the event, Spider-Man unmasked himself in public after Iron Man convinced him to do it, putting him and his family into the target of his many enemies. After learning that Iron Man went all dictator on people we know is good people, they had a fallout which caused Iron Man to stop protecting his family, and eventually it resulted in Aunt May getting killed. And then the exec at Marvel did the worst thing that ever happened to Spider-Man fans. One more day. They made Peter Parker made a deal with Mephisto, the devil himself, to sell his relationship with Mary Jane to resurrect Aunt May and reset the world of Spider-Man. And ever since then, Spider-Man main storytelling has never recovered, no matter who becomes its writer and how much they try to put things back to where Peter Parker's story makes actual sense to return him to the guy who learned from his struggle in life, not just struggle for the sake of struggle. But unfortunately, exact interference kept happening here and there, making sure that any new interesting storyline will go bad. At one point, it got so bad when Spider-Man almost killed a regular dude named Paul, the fans cheer on him, wanting Peter Parker to kill the dude. It's the expected result of any story that doesn't want to stop telling its story. Instead, they just went on focusing on making more stories so it can make more money. DC does this, Marvel does this, Naruto does this, any story made by Takahashi Rumiko does this. Hell, even Dune and Lord of the Rings suffer from the same fate. One of the only time we have an ending to Peter Parker's life was from the original Ultimate Spider-Man, where Peter died after saving many people in New York that was flooded by Magneto. A very well written heroic sacrifice and tragedy that fits the story of Ultimate Spider-Man, where the threat that Spidey has to face only got worse and worse until it finally took him. That was one of the best Spider-Man ending, and even then it was ruined because they forced him to come back alive and choose to abandon Aunt May and his responsibility somehow. Thankfully, the Ultimate Universe ended a short while after that. But it's not all bad news. There are still good stories being made that still have the potential to be a good story. The Spider-Man game, for example, told some really great story that offers us a glimpse of what Peter's life would be once Aunt May is gone. The new Ultimate Spider-Man is an interesting take on a much older Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man for the first time. Then there's this book, Spider-Man's Life Story, that told a one-shot story of Peter Parker's life. The story started in 1966 during the start of Vietnam War, which is fitting since Spider-Man is the first ever comic book to add real-life event to his story, breaking the comic censorship at that time. He's worried about a lot of things. Norman Osborn, Gwen Stacy, J. Jonah Jameson for different reasons, and he's worried about getting drafted into the war because it seemed people his age and even Iron Man and Captain America was being pressured to go. He managed to get some time to go to Flash's farewell party before he went to go to join the war because Flash thinks that that's what Spider-Man would have done. And it is in this party that his bad feeling toward Norman Osborn is proven. Norman knew that he is Spider-Man because Norman is the Green Goblin that has done his research. They got into a fight where Spider-Man managed to hit Norman's head hard enough that if he wanted to, he can just leave him for dead there. But he decided to save him, and thankfully Norman forget about being the Green Goblin and forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. The next day, while wondering what to do about Norman, he met Captain America, who has decided to go to Vietnam to see for himself what the war looks like with his own eyes. He assured Spider-Man that he's doing good work in New York and he didn't need to worry about the war. Peter then went to the train station to send Flash off into the war, where he met a disappointed Gwen Stacy because he was late and Flash has gone away before he arrived there. But Gwen saw his Spider-Man outfit, and every time Peter was late makes sense to her now. A year passed, the war still goes on with Captain America being the only superhero that is actually doing superhero thing, trying to save people from dying from the war. Flash Thompson died during the war, and Peter is now going out with Gwen Stacy and he's working in a lab with Reed Richards and Octo Octavius. Yes, that's Dr. Octopus. He changed his way after a heart attack almost killed him, and he started going out with Aunt May during his redemption arc, making Peter have to call him Uncle Otto. Meanwhile, Norman, who is in prison, remembers everything now, including who Spider-Man is, and he gave all this information to Harry, requesting him to take care of unfinished business. Harry attacked where Gwen is working, and because of that, they saw the work of the professor she works with, cloning 3 people: Norman so he can fake his death, Peter Parker so Norman could have his own smart boy, and Gwen Stacy, the professor's own personal pet project because he has always wanted her for himself. Harry and Spider-Man fight, and he managed to convince Harry to be free from his father's control, so Harry decided to kill the clones with what is left of his goblin's bone. But there were only 2 clones there. One of them is Peter Parker's own clone that he managed to save, but from the other 2 who died, Norman is a clone, while Gwen that is on the tube test is the real Gwen Stacy that the professor has been keeping around while he let her clone roam free, not realizing that she was a clone, making him lose Gwen Stacy. A few more years have passed, it's 1984 now, and while Mary Jane is about to give birth to their child, Peter has been missing because he's stuck in the Secret War. He managed to come home a mess, bringing the symbiote suit with him. While the suit don't control him as much as the original story does, the ongoing war with Russia started to make copycat of his black suit, killing people at night with guns. He had a fight with MJ because Aunt May has started to go senile from old age and becoming a danger to her own granddaughter, and Peter decided to storm out, leaving the symbiote suit behind. He met Kraven, who killed and buried him before the suit managed to break free and save his life. But it also turned him into a monster that is going to kill Kraven. Thankfully, MJ saved him by using the vibration gun that Peter has made just in case the symbiote that is an alien living being did something bad. But about 2 decades of being Spider-Man has really started to take a toll on the guy. Parker Industries that Peter built for about a decade now has gone large enough to compete with Tony Stark's weapon industry, but Peter's life has gone even worse. Mary Jane now lives away from him with their child, and he has started cheating on her. Meanwhile, Doc Ock has gone mad from grief because of the death of Aunt May, and he has found out who Spider-Man is, so he decided to kidnap both Ben Reilly and Peter Parker with Harry Osborn's help, convincing both Ben and Parker that Ben is the real Peter, resulting in Ben going mad and almost killing the dog. Peter and Harry stop him, but the fight with the dog continues, resulting in the death of Harry Osborn. Peter decided to tell Ben that he is the real Peter Parker, and he gave him the Parker Industries before he went to confront Norman Osborn. Peter knew that he is the real Peter Parker, but he used this chance to do what he thinks is right for everyone. Norman died of a heart attack after learning that his sim caused the death of Harry, and Peter decided to retire being Peter Parker and Spider-Man to go back to his wife and son. But we're in the 20,000 now. Peter is now older than we ever saw him, and he has retired being Spider-Man for quite some time. But in New York, the Dracula flat killed Ben, showing the world that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Meanwhile, Tony Stark, who have been pushing for the superhero act, immediately tried to get Peter Parker's industry to enrich himself, so once again Peter had to take the mantle of Spider-Man. He went back to New York while his kids remains at home to take care of Flight who comes attacking, and Peter teams up with Captain America and the Avengers to get Iron Man and his team to back off from trying to arrest Peter because he is unwilling to submit to him. They team up for a while trying to make the world a better place for the next generation until the 210s. Peter now looks like someone's granddad. older than maybe Uncle Ben when he was alive. His daughter has taken on the spider suit, and Miles Morales has become an active Spider-Man for quite a while. But despite his old age, he decided to go to space with Miles to stop Dr. Doom's plan to end the world by using the Stark old space station to destroy all of Doom's gadgets. Things went great for a while, but Kraken that has been possessed by the Venom symbiote attacked them, destroying parts of the ship. After they took care of him, Peter decided to confront Dr. Octopus, who had possessed Miles, and they fought further destroying the spaceship. Dr. Octopus decided to end the fight by taking Peter into his mind where he almost bested him. But Aunt May appeared and, as with many cases in Peter's life, put her foot down and told the dog to let go, ending the fight for Peter so they can have one last small moment together. The ship almost went down before it can do its job to Dr. Doom's device, so Peter decided to send Miles back down to Earth while he stayed so for one last time he can hold things together to save the day, ending the life of Peter Parker. Comic books are expensive and it will only get more expensive and not worth it for most of us, especially because there is no end to any of the story because it has integrated its storytelling as a money-making machine. Especially now with parts of it being in Disney hands and the other part being in Fox hands now. But if you wanted to have something for yourself, this is just one volume and it took parts of the most interesting Spider-Man story that has ever been told and distilled them into a very compelling life of a person. Peter's graduation, his love life with Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane, the symbiote and Kraken story, him finding one world to another, even the messy clone arc and superior Spider-Man was put together so cohesively. This is at least one of the best, if not the best finished comic book that Marvel has ever brought, and that's why I'm giving this a 5. What do you think? Let me know if I missed anything, so leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it. See ya.